Oh, look at you, ready to go. What was that?
I don't know.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Third World Podcast.
At night.
Uh-oh, I can't hear anything. What the heck? Oh, perfect. That sounded just like it. Well, Darcy,
I gotcha.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Of course,
What?
it does feel very busy.
Last week, she said, I hope you appreciate how much I'm doing, giving up my day to come record a show. Now, that was last week. I don't know if she still feels the same way.
Listen, it's rough because my schedule, I'm almost not busy with work like ever, but that's while everybody else is working.
Yeah.
And then I'm busy when everybody is off. So it's very frustrating because I am only working part-time, but I feel like I have less time to hang out with people than people that are full-time working because I just have such a weird random schedule.
Yeah, and work actually, it worked out because work decided to let out, and you were like in the area already, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got lucky on that. And then you might have had to be scheduled later with another kid. So
Yeah.
so that also fell through, which was phenomenal. I was getting stressed over here.
Not for my wallet.
Do you need this, buddy?
Yeah.
Here you go. All right. We are continuing.
Wait, why is this really difficult?
I think it's either supposed to work out your hand to where you're actually getting a good workout.
It's grip strength.
Or it's or it's like to calm you down. Yeah, I was gonna say. What are we trying to grip here?
Should I do it under the table?
No.
It was just this, guys.
Yeah. All right, we are continuing in this book that I may or may not have accidentally spilled salad dressing on. So, Marry Him: The Case for Settling for Mr. Good Enough by Lori Gottlieb. If y'all recall, if you could even read this, it's all tore up, mainly due to the salad dressing. But we are on chapter 3. It's got a very delightful title. It's called How Feminism Effed Up My Love Life. Except she didn't say effed. She said the full word. Okay. Are you a feminist?
Feminism effed up my work life.
Your work life?
Yeah.
How?
Because I have to work.
That is fair.
To hell with these women's rights. I don't need to vote. I just need to stay home.
I was actually about to ask, are you a feminist? But it sounds like you answered my question before I could even get the question out. So you're not a feminist then, for the record.
Not at all.
Yeah. Actually, she goes very much into that. She's like, equal rights, but now we got to do all this stuff now. You know, all the stuff we didn't have to do. But do you have any good experience with feminism or feminist women? Do you enjoy their company?
In like the actual thing, like the premise of feminism of like equal rights, women should be able to do whatever men can do, all of that, like yes, but we shouldn't have to. Is my problem. Like we shouldn't live in an economy to where it's not an option whether we work or not. Like,
Right.
should we all have the option to be able to do so? Yes, but it kind of messed everything up because now you have to have a dual income to be able to afford things. So it's just kind of,
yeah. I would think when you really boil down feminism, she does it pretty good. But when you try to boil it down, it's like, at the end of the day, the bottom line is like equal opportunities as men. But I feel like a lot of people have taken that to be like take away men's opportunities to give them to women, at least. At least that's how it's kind of viewed right now. But
I think probably when it first started out, it was a really good thing. And it was very powerful. But just as everything else got corrupted over time, where now it's to an extreme.
Right.
And so that's where it gets kind of messed up because, you know, everybody wants to scream about equal rights. And it's like, okay, but do you understand what equal rights looks like?
Yeah.
Because what you're actually wanting is to be favored, not to have equal rights.
Yeah.
And that's where it got messed up.
Yeah. And like you said, it started off better because, you know, why shouldn't women be allowed to vote and all this other stuff, you know? And there are a lot of cases where women aren't treated equally. Not so much in the wage gap. I'm not really talking about that, but I'm talking like in the workplace. Like if you're a woman in power, there's a stick. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I just thought of a meme.
What? Do you remember it?
So, yeah, the person was like, all of these women want to complain about the wage gap, but they choose lower paying jobs. And they're like, they choose to be a woman doctor instead of a doctor. They choose to be a woman lawyer instead of an actual lawyer.
Yeah.
And it cracked me up.
That's fair. Where was I going?
I don't know.
Yeah, that threw me off. Let me see. Oh, I will say there's a lot of places where women aren't taken seriously at the workplace.
Yeah.
I used to work at a jail, and it's not like they were working for me, but it's very different working with female inmates as opposed to me working with male inmates. Now, in what way? Well, let me tell you, when a guy wants to buck up and tell me no or try to fight me on something, then I take it very seriously, and it's like, okay, I got to call for backup, or we got to force him to do something. When a woman tried to talk back to me, that was an inmate, I just started laughing because I did not take her seriously. I was like, anyway, just good one. Go to your cell now, But there's a lot of cases where in the same workplace there is a lot of sexual harassment.
I was just about to bring up harassment.
Yeah, harassment. That's definitely a big issue still. Whether you believe in the wage gap or not, harassment is very. It's
insane.
It's horrible, And there's I don't know, male CEOs. What's the guy that owns wrestling? Vince It's not McMahon, but that's how it's spelled. It's like McMahon. Vince McMahon. Like all the women that worked for him had to do horrible sexual things to him. That like the worst thing you can think of. And there's a lot. He's not the only CEO.
Isn't that a bleep word?
What? Sexual?
Mexual.
Yeah. Intellectual. That's what I meant to say. Intellectual things. Thanks. You really saved our monetization there. By the way, we're at 12,000 subscribers now.
That's
isn't that
so
cool?
exciting.
Yeah, isn't that great? Thank you, Philippines. If you look at the analytics, a lot of them are from there, disproportionately. Anyway, so yes, sexism is still a thing, just not in the way that it's preached.
Yeah,
I would say. I think a lot of women focus on the wrong areas. Again, they focus on a wage gap, but the wage gap isn't calculating a ton of stuff. It's like it's an average of every single job in existence, regardless of pay.
Yeah.
So it's so weird. Or regardless of job title, hours worked, all sorts of stuff, maternity leave. So the average, yes, there's an average when you calculate all that crap into one spot, one number. Yes, there's a difference because it's missing a lot of variables. But
yeah, because I feel like I've never applied for a job that says it hires at like 13 an hour, but then they see I'm a woman, so they're like $12.50 max.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
I don't know. Maybe I've just never paid attention, but I've always discussed my wages with my like fellow coworkers, and I've never seen a gap. And if anything, I get paid higher than everyone else.
We haven't had a kid yet, but I'm wondering, will I get actual paid paternity leave?
Yeah.
I know if Maddie, she'd probably get maternity leave, if she worked at my job, but does the guy get that? I don't know. But guess what? It's in the calculated gender wage gap, So anyway.
I think places are starting to get a lot better about that because when Paul was at CarMax, he had the potential to have paternity leave. Mm-hmm. For I think it was like 75% pay for like the first 6 weeks, and then the next 6 weeks after that was like half pay, or something.
Yeah,
but that's like a full 12 weeks.
And that's a new thing too. I think maybe I'm wrong. I really should do more research into that. But like I said, I think it's only been considered maternity leave up until pretty recently. Just maternity leave, nothing for the guys till a lot recent. Mm-hmm. But I don't know for sure. So anyway. That's my thoughts on it.
Are you calling the gagging time off from work maternity as well? Or did you say paternity?
I said paternity.
Oh, okay. I was just making
That's probably not even it. Is that what
No, it is.
Okay, cool.
I was just making sure you weren't calling both maternity.
No. There's the M for mother.
Yes.
And P for papa. For daddy.
Deternity.
Isn't your dad named Paul?
Yes.
Sorry, couldn't do that. I had to throw that in there. You're starting to throw shade at me, so I was like, you know what?
Yeah, I'm done.
God, 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
Did you want a break since you brought the stuff?
Sure.
Okay, we can do that. No answer for 3, 2, 1. That was awful, but I will take it.
I was worried I was gonna hit my
Not, yeah.
beverage. No free sponsorships
Yeah,
here.
no kidding. I will drink like this every time. That really hurt. All right.
I actually might need to take it out of the paper bag.
Okay,
It's gonna
you're
be
good.
obnoxious.
Yeah, no, you're good. All right, White Claw, you get. All right, White Claw, you get one free one. Maybe two, depending on how many we want to drink. So, okay. Chapter 3, How Feminism Effed Up My Love Life. Oh, okay, so we're reading from the book. I'm doing my best to be better about breaking it up so I can actually have discussion instead of just me reading at y'all. So, bear with me as I do that. And as everybody starts moving furniture.
What's going on over there?
They're playing cards, probably.
Why is there so much moolah out?
I don't know.
We can get to this another time.
No. You brought him. I said yes. I was being nice. All right.
All right, focus time.
How feminism effed up my love life. So work with me on these paragraphs here.
Okay.
I know this is an unpopular thing to say, but feminism has completely effed up my love life. To be fair, it's not feminism exactly. After all, feminism never published a dating manual. You know, there's no manual for dating, right? But what I considered to be the feminist way of doing things certainly didn't help. It's not that I wouldn't give back the gains of feminism like we talked about. There's a lot of stuff that still actually needs to be done. Believe me, I wouldn't. It's just that I wish I hadn't tried to apply what I believe to be feminist ideals to dating.
Is she going to get into what she means by that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
I'll be patient then.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to ask? We can go ahead and ask your question.
I was just going to ask like what she means by feminism in dating.
Oh,
Like as far as not like as far as if the man makes more than she does, like is that what she's talking about? To where she's like, oh, like no breadwinners here, or don't you put on me that I need to stay home with the kids? Like
Yeah. No, she does go into detail
Okay.
about that for sure. Okay, so to us, feminism meant we had freedom and choice in all aspects of our lives. We could pursue professional careers, take time to find ourselves before getting married, decide not to get married at all, and have our sexual needs met whenever we felt like it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with this. That's it. Case closed. The fact we didn't need a man to have a fulfilling life felt empowering. After all, who wanted to do what our moms did? Find a man, marry him, and have kids, all before most of us had gotten our first promotion. Yes.
I wanted to do that. Anyways.
Oh, like that was your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
she said, who out here would want to do
Yeah,
that? And I'm
like
like,
me."
me.
But then in our late 20s and early 30s, as more of us... I'm going to have to get better about my notes. Moved from relationship to relationship or went long periods with no meaningful relationship at all, we didn't feel quite so empowered. The truth was, every one of my single friends wanted to be married, but none of us would admit how badly we craved it for fear of sounding weak or needy or, God forbid, anti-feminist. So they started getting lonely, but they didn't want to admit it. They didn't want to tell themselves, we need something, we need a guy.
I can see that.
We didn't want yet another Sunday brunch with the girls. We wanted a lifetime with the guy. At least on my end, I kind of felt the same way. I was like, I'm kind of sick of all this sausage fest I keep going to, I guess that's what women wanted.
Yeah.
You know?
Just trade places.
Yeah. It wasn't until I found myself still single in my late 30s that something hit me. Maybe the problem was this misconception. We thought that having it all equaled happily ever after. So they thought this, again, happily having it all, the freedom, the career, they thought that meant they're going to be happy. And they found out that's not the case. Having it all meant that we shouldn't compromise in any area of life, including dating. Not compromising meant having high standards. The higher our standards, the more empowered we were. But were we? Here's what actually happened. Empowerment somehow became synonymous with having impossible standards and disregarding the fact that in real life you can't get everything you want when you want it on your terms only, which is exactly how many of us empowered ourselves out of a good mate. Okay, so you can't get everything you want when you want it on your terms only. That applies to me as well, because I think by the time I was ready to find the right person, it still took me 5 years to do it, because the right person doesn't just come strolling along, like you still got to kind of put yourself out there. Why are you smiling at me like that?
It didn't work that way for me.
I guess it did kind of work out for you that way.
I was married by 22. So.
But you went to it was like a very shady place where you met Paul, huh? I'd
It
say
was a Bible study.
this weird guy was like, "Hey, you just got saved. Come over to this guy's house that you don't know."
Okay, that's
You know,
fair.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that guy ended up being shady himself later on.
Later on, yeah.
Yeah, way later on. So, I don't know. Yeah, in most cases, like some people get lucky early on.
Yeah.
One of my good friends who wrote the script for our short film met his now wife at 18, you know? So, like, sometimes it works out. Like, it does happen. But most of us, especially people I'd say that have, like, really high standards or that are very demanding.
I definitely did not have high standards. I mean, look at who no, just kidding. I got really lucky that in my low standards, I still found somebody that I could have had high standards and it been good. You know what I mean?
You know, it truly actually tastes okay. It's my first one. Yeah, I would say you did get lucky or blessed, whatever you want to say, whatever you in the comments believe in. But not a lot of people do, especially people I think that are very demanding. I know a couple people that have very demanding significant others or have dated someone that's very demanding. And when they got done mooching off of me, they tend to have a hard time finding somebody on demand that kind of does what they want and has, you know, that's a good fit for them. You know what I mean? They don't just, for the most part, they don't just show up. I know you have a different case in your own life, but I'd say that's not the norm.
Right. No,
You know,
I'm very
definitely
good about being able, because like Paul and I got married quickly, but if somebody were to come up to me and be like, yeah, I'm going to marry this guy I met 6 months ago, I'd be like,
Yeah.
whoa, buddy.
Right.
Take a step back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. First of all, feminism.
Okay. Sorry.
You know.
I'm ADHD today. Good luck.
No, you're good. Let's see. So, according to the most recent Census Bureau report, 1/3 of men and 1/4 of women between 30 and 34 have never been married. These numbers,
Wow. That's a lot higher than I would
Yeah.
have thought.
These numbers are 4 times higher than they were in 1970. Well, that's higher than you thought. Okay. Yes, when you put it in the context of a bunch of Bible study kids, right? But
Yeah, I guess so.
have you been to like a really disgusting looking bar where these really weird people walk up to you and say, "Hey, you want to come back to my place?" You know, it's like, would it
I feel like a lot of them are divorced though. I feel like there's I feel like 90% of people get married, and then if they're single in their 30s, early 40s, it's because they've been through a divorce, if not two.
I guess I never asked. But I would just assume if that's your approach, there's some people that's their opening line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I guess maybe, you know, I haven't asked to clarify, but I was like, if that's your opening line, you're not going to marry somebody based
Maybe
off
we can
of
do
that.
our own research and we can just like go to bars, and then anytime somebody tries to walk up to us, we can be like, hey, have you been divorced?
I'm going to have to drop 30 pounds before I start getting approached by people again. And that's the only way I'll be able to get this ring off too, because it's kind of stuck now with all the weight I gained.
I had to take my ring off and do rubber rings for a little bit when I started gaining weight, but mine fits on me nice now.
That's good. Let's see. This could take the last 40 minutes we have on our show. I tried to do it this weekend.
Why are you twisting it like it's a screw top?
It's not going to come off if I just go like
Really?
this. Yeah, it doesn't. I have to loosen it, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, side note. These numbers are 4 times higher than they were in the 70s. So that's the most recent report. So that's, I mean, I don't know how old this book is, but that sounds pretty recent. Let's see. At first, this might look like a positive trend. People are more mature at the age of marriage now, but many single women I talk to feel differently. The cultural pressure to marry later, but not too late, often hurts us more than it helps us. So we get back to her personal examples of people she studied. Jessica, a 29-year-old communications director for a museum, told me about the night 6 years ago when her college boyfriend, Dave, proposed to her. They were both almost 23 and living in Chicago. He was in medical school. She was applying for her first job. They'd been together 4 years. I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this. And she was very much in love with Dave, but Jessica turned him down for one reason and one reason only. She thought she was too young to get married. I thought, what kind of independent woman gets married before she even has her first job? This is her talking. So I told them I had to grow on my own, and I was worried that if we got married so young, I wouldn't be able to do that. I also thought I shouldn't marry the first serious boyfriend I ever had. Thought I should have other experiences with men. Okay, do you agree or disagree with her decision? Now, I know you got married young. I get that. But can you at least see where she's coming from, or do you wholeheartedly disagree? You found yourself pretty early on, though. You had a lot of experiences that
That's
kind of
fair.
forced you to
That's
grow
fair.
up fast.
Yeah.
So what she wanted to do, you managed to do when you were a teenager to when you were 23.
I mean, I can get that because when I was 19, there was a lot of guys that were trying to get like into a very serious relationship with me, and I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
ready for that. But I knew that from the get go. Why was she with this guy for 4 years, and all of a sudden she decides now that it's gonna get serious?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is
That's
something
fair.
she should have known in those first 2 years, if not those first 6 months.
That's fair. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking, so before you just said that, I was thinking that's actually not a bad reason. I understand that this is a really great guy and he could be the one, but it's too early. You want to do stuff career wise. You kind of want to live. You want to experiment, all that kind of stuff. I actually think I understood, and I was kind of like on her side about it. But then now that you brought that up, I was like, wait, you're right. 4 years. She dragged this
Right.
guy on for 4 years.
Yep.
Lord knows what she was telling him.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, we're going to get married. Yeah, we're going to have kids together. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Now I have a little bit less sympathy.
She decided that pretty late, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
And
that's
you
fair.
know, I don't know. Maybe somebody talked to her, and she had that realization. We don't know the full story. Maybe she was thinking about the proposal, and somebody was like, "Dude, you're so young. You have so much life
Yeah.
to live. Don't settle down yet." And she was like, "You know what? You're right."
I actually think that's coming up next after that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's another thing, too. They ask the worst people for advice. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
first girlfriend ran to her mom, who was full of great advice, you know, and I'm sarcastically. I just, well, we'll get to it. So, yeah, at first I was like, that's not a bad decision. If they were now it's like if they were 6 months in, that's not a bad decision, or a year in.
Right.
Not a bad decision. Hey, we're young. I got this career stuff I want to do. I could agree with that. But yes, you're right. 4 years in, I mean, she had to have been stringing him on for him to make a choice of, I want to marry this girl. I'm going to propose at this time. She had to have been filling his head
Right.
with the future and
Right.
stuff that she was ultimately not able to fulfill.
Yeah.
So bad move on her part.
And especially like, I don't know. I just don't get this like perspective of you can't find yourself while you're with another person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when I had met Paul, I was 2 weeks out of drugs and a lot of stuff, and I didn't know who I was in the slightest. I barely knew what I did and didn't like, you
Yeah.
know, even when it came to something as simple as music and TV. Like, I didn't know what I liked because what did I do when I had free time? Drugs. Like, you know. But I feel like I've found myself very independently, even though this entire time I've been with Paul.
Yeah.
You know, like I know when there's something I don't like. You know,
Yeah.
I know when we go out to do something, I'm like, yeah, I don't care for this. You know, like there's no, you can still grow individually even being together.
Yeah, that's hard to do though, because when you do get married that young, or maybe if you're just living together, there's no pressure to change because you're already locked in with somebody. Whereas when you're single to your 30, you know, not thinking anybody in particular, but there's a lot of pressure to kind of work on yourself as much as you can before the right person comes along, because you know life keeps happening to you whether you're single or not. So you gotta start learning how you react. You gotta start learning things about yourself, stuff you gotta work on. Whereas in a marriage, there's just a lot less pressure to be better because you don't have anyone to grow better with, or you know, I don't know. I would say there's less pressure because I did a lot of change so I could be a better person for eventually when I would meet Maddie. But if I had married 4 years before that, I don't think I would have grown as much as I was kind of forced to on my own. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'm
Okay.
rambling on too much.
I can see that.
Yeah. But, you know, agree, disagree. Like I said, you did get married pretty young, but you've also managed to, apart from marriage, grow on your own, you know. But
I
not,
guess it just depends on the person.
right. So not a lot of people can do that. After their breakup, Dave was heartbroken. Excuse me. God, truly. Dave was heartbroken and asked that they have no contact. Smart. When she leaves you for something stupid, don't keep texting her.
Yeah.
Jessica started doing everything she felt she needed to do to grow as a person. Okay, so she followed through, which I
Okay.
appreciate. A lot of people don't follow through.
Yeah.
You know, she
And
moved.
just move on to the next guy.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
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 Okay. Respectable.
Yep, she moved to a new city, met new people, focused on her work, went on lots of dates, but she couldn't stop thinking about Dave. Over the next 2 years, she often considered calling him up, telling him what a huge mistake she'd made. But her friends who were also living the so-called empowered single girl life would talk her out of it. Every time I considered calling him, she said my friends made me doubt myself. What are you going to settle down at 24? What? I'm sorry. Punctuation. What? You're going to settle down at 24? What about your life? I started to wonder, is this life so wonderful? I liked my work. I liked my friends. I hated dating. Same. I had
Dating can be rough.
It's horrible. It's god awful. I was so glad that I don't have to worry about it anymore. Had a couple of boyfriends I got excited about at first, but I ultimately didn't feel the same way about them that I felt about Dave. I didn't have that comfort level. They didn't get me the way he did. Either I wasn't into them or they weren't into me, and I kept thinking, what am I looking for when I already found the guy I want to spend my life with? Secretly, Jessica would Google Dave at night, but she didn't find much information other than that he was still in medical school. What do you think? Creepy? Keep Googling him?
No, because I Google people all the time.
I agree. Me too. I can't take the high road on this
Anybody
one.
that says they don't is such a liar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Such a liar.
Because like it's not.
Or
not
they're
even,
the weird ones if they don't.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not get curious? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even people that like I don't necessarily like care for. Like I've randomly. I think Paul and I both have just randomly Facebook searched exes and stuff just to see like what they look like now, what they're up to, all of that kind of stuff.
You'll do that together as a group activity.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's weird. It was normal individually, but when y'all got together and
Well, because I wanted to see what his ex girlfriends look like. Like I wanted to see if he had like a type or like you know.
Yeah. See that y'all have Chromecast too, right? Where you put it on the big screen. See, I could see you doing that. Like, let me get this B word in 4K. I want to see every pore.
I was curious what they looked like.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Finally, 3 years after Dave's proposal, Jessica found his number through the medical school switchboard and got up the nerve to call him. Her heart was pounding when she heard his voice. The second he answered, he said, "It felt like home again." I almost cried. Then as she told him why she called, Dave went silent. Guess why? Guess why? Why do you go silent?
He's married?
Oh, yeah. Now it was Jessica's turn to have her heart broken. Dave has spent more than 2 years trying to get over Jessica. So she called like literally a month sooner. Finally, about 8 months before, he'd met someone new. They were dating exclusively. She was a year older than Dave, a 27-year-old resident at the hospital, and was looking to meet the man she would marry. I hope she doesn't mean a patient, because that's not cool.
That's not what a resident means.
Oh. What does it mean?
A resident, like somebody.
You live there, right?
Somebody that no, like somebody that's in training.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Why would I know that? I'm not in the medical field.
Have you never watched Grey's Anatomy?
No, I have not.
Well, I know what you guys need to start doing.
I refuse. Just because you made me look dumb on my own show. But yeah, no, I didn't know. Okay, cool. I'm just going to cut that whole bit because I look really stupid.
Somebody that lives there?
I'm going to cut it to where it's like, you know what a resident is? Absolutely. Someone who's in training there. You know, I'm just going to take this bit right there and just play it. Like, it just went like normal.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to copy. I'm going to comment on it.
Yeah.
Call you out.
Okay. I don't know how you'd phrase it because I have nothing to go off of because I'll cut out this whole conversation.
There we go.
Okay. Quiet on set, please. All right.
We got an audience to back me up.
Yeah, for real. The Third World Podcast at Night is filmed before a live studio audience. I should put that disclaimer at the beginning. That should be pretty cool. I liked it when Cheers did it.
We can have them all clap at the end.
No, we have a clap button, remember?
Are your buttons going to work this time?
No.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Dave is now married to this woman, and both are pediatricians. Jessica learned through a mutual college friend that they recently had a son. So skipping forward a bit. Jessica's voice cracked as she spoke. I gave him up because it was drilled into me that first you establish your own life, then you share it with someone else. That first you go out and pursue your dreams. Well, here I am, still dreaming I'll meet someone as great as Dave.
I feel like it's harder to do it that way. If you are fully established with your own life, and then so is the other person, like, how are you going to, like, smoothly mingle everything together?
Right. And it's like, I think you should find yourself before you open up to somebody else.
Right. But you don't need to be fully established.
Right. You know, like, we'll see. Okay, me getting married closer to 30, I was established before I got married. But it wasn't for lack of trying. I was trying to date before I had the job I have now, before I have the savings I have now. Like I wouldn't even say we're really established yet. Like we got good jobs, but we're sharing a house with a bunch of people. Like we're not established, I would say.
Right.
But with that, having all these roommates and having somewhat of an interesting living situation that's kind of forced us to grow again individually as a couple as well. But now it's also highlighted a bunch of stuff that we as individuals need to work on. So there's still opportunities to grow individually,
Right.
you know? So yeah, being fully established, I would agree, not 100% required. It's ideal.
Right.
But, you know, like you said, you could meet your soulmate at 23, 24, like she had,
Yeah.
and you pass them up because you haven't done everything you want to do.
Right.
So it's not that I disagree. I think you do need to find yourself, but there's a difference between finding yourself and taking the whole 10 years to be fully established. I didn't get the career I wanted until 8 years into my work life, you know? Like I've had so many jobs I hated that I had to grind out because I knew the job I wanted was on the horizon, and I finally got to it. But it takes a long time to get to the job you enjoy or the job you want. Like it takes a long time. And that's assuming you're not an idiot, you know, and,
Right.
you keep passing up opportunities, or you don't know how to do jobs, or you're not a good steward of whatever job you have, you know? So I don't know. Anything else you had to say to that?
No.
Cool. I could relate to Jessica's story. I also grew up believing that my early 20s were a time to experiment with different careers, different men, and then suddenly, according to my timetable, the guy would arrive on my doorstep, which we know for the most part that's not the case. Screw you. The goal was to go out and become a self-actualized before marriage. I didn't imagine that one day I'd be self-actualized but regretful. What's so funny? That joke.
Am I allowed to smile?
Yeah, I just figured it was something you were thinking of outside of what I was reading. Because I know you didn't find the regretful part funny. Nor did Jessica. I thought the message was, you can have it all, but not at 23, she said. Now that I'm 29, I'm supposed to have it all. I don't. I had it at 23.
That would suck to come to that. Really. Oh, God.
I know.
I don't even want to think about, I don't know, if I didn't pursue Paul the way I did and just kind of like, and like tried to move on with life. I don't even want to know how.
Because you've always said, like, outside of him, there's nothing else dating wise. At least it's been a while, you know, and you haven't met anybody else like him. Like, you know, I don't know. It'd be a long wait.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I've said this before. If Paul dies, I'm marrying for money after this.
Yeah.
I'm going for the bank.
I'm going straight for age.
Yeah.
I'm going up. We're going up a few decades.
And don't judge me too hard. I'll be open and honest about it. I'll be upfront.
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Hey,
I just want money.
They're upfront on the dating apps. I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
It just says, like, I just want a sugar daddy, please. I'll make it worth it. They're like begging you.
Yeah,
You
that'd
know?
be me if Paul died.
Yeah, just put it in there. Who cares? Put it in the bio.
Yeah.
The problem is that people judge you if you marry too early. But then if you end up single at 30 or 35, they judge you for not being married. Isn't that true? The amount of people that ask you that are old, they're like, when you getting married? When you bring... And then when you're married, when you getting grandkids?
When you getting kids, yeah.
Like, ugh. And then you say, well, we're thinking about this. Oh, just you wait. It's not going to end up just like how you think
Yeah,
it
I
is.
know.
Like, there's no pleasing these people.
Dude, I would tell people all the time because they would ask now that I'm married when, you know, we're planning on having kids and we discussed around the 5-year mark of us being married. And they're like, oh, that's so long. Oh, I'm like, dude, I'm 22.
Yeah.
We've known each other for 6 months and got married. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we're waiting 5 years.
Yeah, Debbie, it's not our fault you had kids after the guy you met for a month and married, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And are divorced now.
That's something where I could see somebody desiring to be fully established for is kids.
Yeah,
That
for
makes
sure.
sense.
But at that point,
But there's
though,
also like a timing that you need to say, okay, whether we're fully established or not.
Yeah.
Because there's never like the perfect right time to have kids.
for sure.
You know, so there is like a timeline of like, okay, obviously we can't just wait for the perfect timing, but I can see wanting some establishments as far as like having your career going, being finished with school. Maybe for some people that looks like owning a house. That makes sense.
Well, there's a big difference between being established for a spouse and being established and wanting to have kids. Big difference. And can you name the difference? Which way I'm thinking? What's the difference between, I want to be established before I'm married, or being established till you have kids?
Financially?
No, I would say one's selfish and one's selfless. Like, you know, so many people just decide to have kids without really thinking about it. Sometimes it just happens, but...
Right.
When
If it happens, it happens. But if you're sitting there like purposefully doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Excuse me. You know, because you're thinking like, I want our kids to have the best life.
Yeah.
But if
I
you
knew some people like 17 that were like, I'm trying to have a kid. And I was like, that is so selfish.
right, right. So you wanting to be established for you to have the right time, for you to be happy being married, it's so different from I want to be established before we bring out a new life into this life that we're creating.
Yeah.
Big difference. So anyway, just want to throw that out there. She was right. There's a stigma for not waiting long enough, and there's a stigma for waiting too long. People may have called me brave for having a baby on my own. If our listeners remember, she had a baby through not being with a man, but medical stuff. What's that called? Embryo,
IVF?
something like that. Yeah, she didn't get married and had a kid.
In vitro fertilization or whatever.
That one. Yeah, thank you. In vitro fertilization. She has a kid, but she didn't get married. She had it through medical stuff. So, so people may have called me brave for having a baby on my own when my biological clock was ticking, but it was always said in the way you might call a cancer patient brave. All right, so now skipping down to Brooke, 26-year-old in Boston who's getting a graduate degree in women's studies. We have a cancer patient in the audience.
Oh.
He was cheering me on.
I'm
sorry, former cancer patient. Yeah, he's just cheering us on for that cancer comment. You're brave, buddy. All right. No strings attached dating. Brooke, 26-year-old in Boston. Another personal story. I was surprised. Actually, let's restart these cameras. 3, 2, 1. Close enough.
Whatever.
That was my fault. I delayed it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Brooke is a 26-year-old in Boston, who's getting a graduate degree in women's studies. Very helpful, very practical. Just kidding. I was surprised after a lot of young women told me that if
You're
you don't...
such an ass.
What?
The facial expression.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I can't read like this. I was surprised after a lot of young women told me that if you don't get physically intimate with a guy by the third or fourth date, he'll think you're not interested and move on. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the case for me, too.
I hated it. I hated it so much. They
Yeah.
wanted to kiss at the end of the first date. And then by date 3, if you didn't even have a kiss, they're like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
dude, hold on.
Yeah.
My God.
I actually had that problem, too. I know, audience, that's hard to believe, right? But no, I actually did. Not them. I'm talking about the camera. I'm looking at the camera.
It was Drew's fluttered blinking of disbelief back at you that got me.
I've had several people lose interest after I've said, hey, no, we're not doing it. And,
yeah,
I was like, what are you supposed to do? I was like, if I have that problem, it's got to be a billion times harder for women. Because that's the one area where they are very sexualized. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
It's even harder for a girl to say no without the guy just getting mad, running off, losing interest.
Especially when guys are like paying for the date and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They make it as like this, you owe me because I did this for you, and you're just like, ooh, brother, if I knew that, I would have split the bill, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
if I knew I was worth $20 for a kiss, I would have just not gone out.
That's actually pretty cheap. I'd pay that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not that cheap.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Since when, I wanted to know, this is the author talking, does not being physically intimate with someone you've known a total of, say, 8 hours indicate a lack of interest? That's a real question. More important, I want to know what's in it for women who often get emotionally attached to the men they sleep with, or who, for the most part, find casual sex unfulfilling. What's so empowering about a sexual free-for-all? What do you think? Is there anything empowering about that for feminists? Because the idea is they get to choose, same way the guys get to. The guys get to just pump and dump. We've talked about pump and dump last time.
Okay, yeah, you can not.
Okay, but for women, they don't have...
Weren't you the one that didn't realize what pump and dump quite meant?
It's not that I didn't realize what it meant. It was more so that you brought it up, and I was just like, dude, this is a kid's show.
It's called At Night.
Yeah, I forgot it. I think along the way, we lost our way. I forgot what this show stood for. Thanks for reminding me.
So, I mean, I used to have that mindset, of like, huh?
Nothing. Go ahead and continue.
I remember, like, I got into an argument with a woman one time because she was telling me, like, I need to value myself and my body. And I was just like, why don't you tell that to this guy over here who's also sleeping with me? Like,
Yeah.
why am I as the woman getting this talk? I can do whatever man does and be able to feel the same way about it, live the same way, do whatever I want. And I was highly offended. And like, I think that standard should be across the board. It's not that,
Guys can do it, girls can't.
right. You know, like it shouldn't be that way. But as far as that mindset, it is toxic and it is harmful for your self-esteem, for your self-image, because now you just get this like, oh, this is what I'm good for.
But still not.
And that's not what it is.
But you still don't feel that way in regards to a guy doing it.
What do you mean?
So you said for you, if you did have do what you want, sleep with whoever you want, it's not good for you. It's not good for your self-esteem. It's not good for your self-worth. Right? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Do you feel that way about a guy doing it?
I mean, I don't personally know what a guy feels after that, so I can't really speak to that. I think they should be held to the same standard of like, you shouldn't get a high five for your 26th body as a man and a girl get shamed for her third body.
Yeah.
Like it should not work that way at all. But there shouldn't be praise on either accounts.
I was going to say, for the most part, I don't think we get self-worth issues. You know what I mean? Like we can, if we have women that we're into or good-looking women put us down, especially someone who used to struggle with talking to women. If we're getting put down by them and devalued, then yeah, we have self-worth issues. But for the most part, guys that are confident, tall, all that kind of stuff, they don't really struggle with that, I would say. At least.
I would say their struggle comes in with the way they view women.
Sure.
So with women, it becomes a struggle of how they view themselves.
Yeah.
And with men, it becomes a struggle of how they view women.
Yeah.
It becomes a struggle of, if they don't put out on date 3, it becomes a struggle of, like, that's what they see women's value as. Whereas if you held the same standards across the board and guys were just as reserved with their body as women were, maybe they would have a higher respect for women.
If guys were just as reserved as women, the world would be a lot different.
We wouldn't have people.
This book wouldn't exist. Yeah, this book wouldn't exist. I don't think I'd have been born. The whole timeline would have been thrown off. We'd be in an alternate dimension. There's no Superman anymore. Let's see. All right. So she asked Brooke, "What's in it for women?" Brooke sighed like Brooke sighed like I was an old fuddy-duddy. It gives us the same choices men have, right? So she asked her, what do women get out of this? Well, we get the same choices men get. Okay, so feminism, right? Well, we just want the same thing men get. We want to be able to do what we want without being judged, I want to be able to choose to get married early. I want to be able to choose to get married late, but
they're not choosing to marry early.
You don't think so? You didn't choose to say I do?
Feminists? People that are like, I need to wait till I'm fully established. Like, they're not.
Right, yeah.
Like, they're going the opposite end.
Well, that's the thing. They say they want to have the choice, but then there's a stigma around all these different choices you can make. So it's like...
It's frowned upon.
Right. So where's the feminist part? Where's the choice?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what
all of her friends are convincing her not to call this guy back.
Yep. So it's like there's this weird... There's no established line of like, okay, where does feminism apply, freedom of choice, and then where's the hard cutoff, So it's like, I don't know, it's so confusing, and it really messes you up to where you're making all these poor decisions. Okay. So then she says, okay, but is casual sex what you want? And then Brooke says, no, she admits. But I'd want any woman who had that desire to have the freedom to pursue it. That's what she says. But then again, we just established there's all the stigma around if you don't or if you do. All right. Meanwhile, Brooke has been living with her boyfriend for 2 years and confessed she's been wondering whether to move out when she turns 27 next month. I'm ready for a serious relationship, she says. Does that rub you the wrong way at all? Or
she's ready for a serious relationship?
Yeah, she's living with this guy for 2 years, and she's thinking about moving out next month when she turns 27. She says, I want a serious relationship. I'm ready for something serious. Does that sound weird to you? Okay. I wonder what she meant by serious relationship. Wasn't living together pretty serious? Right?
I'm assuming the guy was falling short.
Everyone's living together, Brooke replied. It's no big deal. Indeed, thanks to the freedom we now have, this is a statistic, half of women 25 to 29 have lived with a guy. I wondered why Brooke moved into her boyfriend's apartment in the first place if she wanted marriage instead of cohabitation. She thought for a minute. Oh, were you going to say something? Or you just go,
I was just going, like, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, does that sound weird to you? Because I think it is weird.
Yeah.
You're living with the guy, but you're not serious. Like, I
Right.
think living with them is about as serious as you can make it next to marrying him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not serious in today's standards and all of that. It's like, that's just something you do
Right.
when you're dating. Now, I don't have that personal view.
Sure.
Like, I don't think you should move in together before you get married, but
She says everyone's living together. That's
Right.
why I'm like, are they though? You know? Anyway. All right. She thought for a minute. I guess a part of me wanted living together to mean something it doesn't, she confessed. Most people who move in together don't talk about what it means for the future. I mean, vaguely, but it's not like they're engaged. They just move in because they're in love. Love with no future plans. Hooray for freedom, but has this kind of freedom made us happier? All right, I have to try to summarize this because date. Date is a 4-letter word. So she's basically trying to say how dating, the word date now is so confusing, especially today. So she says, it's not a date, it's just coffee. I have no idea what dating means in an era when people say, we're not in a relationship, we're just dating, while spending time and sleeping together. Sometimes there isn't even an actual date involved in a date. You'll just be invited to join a guy and his friends at a party. You get where she's going?
yeah.
And to bring attractive girlfriends, you know. You'll be called from a cell phone at 9 p.m. and asked to hang out, watch a video at his place, or you'll be asked to meet him for coffee for 20 minutes after his basketball game. Women are supposed to be cool with all this. There seems to be a lack of respect in the dating world, but these women say we're supposed to deny any expectations of chivalrous behavior, traditional courtship, and marriage within a reasonable time frame because the level of detachment or independence supposedly makes us empowered. You get where she's saying feminism really messed her up trying to date and, you know, when she was young. Why should I waste time having a 2-hour dinner on a first date when I know within 30 seconds of meeting for a quick coffee whether a guy is my type? I asked her. Because you don't know within... Oops. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot to establish. She's talking to now she's switching gears. She's talking to an old married friend that really set her straight. So she asked her friend who's married, why should I waste my time having a 2-hour dinner on a first date when I know within 30 seconds of meeting for a quick coffee whether a guy is my type? I asked her. Because you don't know within 30 seconds whether he might be a good person who would make you happy in a marriage, she said. How do you feel about that? He's not my type, but you haven't really established whether he'd be a good person to marry. Do you think...
Is she talking, when she says her type, is she talking physical appearance?
I don't know for sure, but I would assume so.
Okay.
Because what else is a type?
I don't know.
Like I can identify. My type was more so based on personality,
Right.
quirkiness, humor. That's that was me.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. That's not everybody.
Yeah.
You know. I know people. You look at their history of exes, and they're all this hair color or this color skin or this height. You know what I mean?
Guilty.
Right. Okay, fair. I wasn't going there. I wasn't calling you out. But since we're here, we can go ahead and do that. But right. So I would say type, or we're talking physical. I don't
Okay.
She doesn't say, but I would go based off that. There's not a lot of people that have a type based on personality. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Unless you can set me straight here, but
That's fair.
okay.
Yeah, I'd say going off of type alone. I mean, that's where a lot of people are messing up. I saw somebody, what was it? I'm going to butcher how they said it, but it's pretty much like, instead of looking for somebody you're physically attracted to, look for somebody that would be a good father.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? That's pretty
Probably
good.
going to be bald. Just gonna throw that out there. Not bald yet, but I'm balding. Okay, right behind you guys.
You know, but kind of shifting your standards to be like, instead of looking at physical appearances, now like you want there to be some attraction. Like you don't want to just be
Right.
completely turned off by this person.
I mean, yeah.
But that's also not something I don't think you can decide within 30 seconds, because there's people that I have thought were the finest man on earth in the first 30 seconds. And after talking to him for 5 minutes, I was
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Right.
And then there's other people where I was just like, mm-mm. But then because we worked together, saw each other all the time, and I actually got to know their personality, and I was like forced outside of that like initial meeting, I was like, oh my God, this is a really attractive person.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely can't get that. If you, even if you're looking for your type, you still can't really get that in 30 seconds. You need to see
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah. Even based on my type, which is personality based, there was still stuff that just had to make it where we couldn't be together.
Yeah.
Personality stuff.
Yeah.
Just because they're your type.
I think it takes about 3 dates to know whether or not you like somebody.
Well, I'm not even talking about whether you like them. They could have stuff that they don't, they could have red flags you just don't know till 2 months in or something. You know what I mean? Even if they're the right personality type where you just click and you get along with.
So that's okay. So that, I think it takes 3 dates to know if you find
Like
yourself
somebody.
compatible
Yeah.
and like somebody. And
Compatibility.
I think it takes about 3 months to know whether or not this is somebody you're going to move forward with towards marriage or whether it's eventually going to end in a breakup.
Right.
Not that I think you should get married at 3 months, but I think you should know at 3 months if this is something that's going to be serious or not serious.
Yeah. And I've said this before, if they are crazy, give them a month. They will go crazy on you. That's a good indicator. So anyway, life advice. You're welcome. I just saved a lot of people a lot of heartbreak. I've saved approximately 12,000 subscribers. Unnecessary heartbreak.
Half of them in the Philippines.
Yes. All them Filipinos. I got you. Carolyn, a 33-year-old fashion buyer, told me she considers herself a feminist, but still wants a guy to be a guy. What do you think that means? Just kidding. Don't answer that. I got you. I'll tell you what she meant. Okay. Interestingly, when I asked what qualities she's looking for in a relationship, she talked about romance and passion and chemistry, but none of the practical things that would give her the option not to work. Okay, I'm sorry. I skipped the whole section. As she put it, I don't need a guy to take care of me, but I wouldn't want to be with someone who couldn't. I want to have a career when I have kids, but I want to have the option not to work if I change my mind. Then she says, interestingly, when I asked her what qualities she's looking for in a relationship, she talked about romance, passion, and chemistry, but none of the stuff to back up what she's saying about marriage, right? She didn't list any qualities that would have made a good husband, but she's got all these expectations for marriage without listing actually what she's looking for that would make a good husband, right? Then there are women, like many of my old college classmates, who, when they were dating, got offended if they were disqualified as relationship material by a guy who wanted to marry a woman who would stay home with the kids, right? So they want all these options.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
Don't tell a woman that you expect her to stay home. Geesh, not me personally. I want to stay home.
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen where guys have expressed their desire to have, like a housewife and, somebody that takes care of the house, does the dishes, takes care of the kids, gets them to school, all of that. And you say that to somebody that's feminist, oh my God, they are in a rage.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, da 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 da.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, well, that's what he's wanting. And if that's not what you want, then just don't pursue it. You don't have to get mad
Right.
if that's what he wants. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. All right. Let's see. So she says something that surprised her. They felt that these modern-seeming guys who also wanted a more traditional family structure reduced the number of eligible men even more. And yet, much to their surprise, most of these same women ended up becoming very happy moms who work part-time or not at all. They weren't as progressive as they once believed themselves to be, and were glad that they weren't expected to bring in half of the family income. So a lot of these women that came out with all those expectations, with all these goals, all the stuff they want to do, they ended up just getting married, right? And then they just realized they're happy. All that stuff they said they cared about, that actually didn't matter in the end. It didn't affect how they felt when they got married. They didn't think, oh wow, I should have been making $60K a year. Oh, I should have done all these work stuff, all this job stuff. All right. In 2006, a New York Times column, John Tierney wrote that whereas this age-old question used to be, what does a woman want? Modern feminists ask instead, what should a woman want? Right? He went on to cite a study by two University of Virginia sociologists, Bradford Wilcox and Stephen Knock, who looked at the question of what makes a woman happy in her marriage nowadays. It turns out that stay-at-home wives were more satisfied with their husbands and their marriages than working wives, and that even amongst working wives, those who were happiest had husbands who brought in 2/3 of the income, right? So they're doing the studies on the people that are working wives, and they're not as happy. They're actually a lot more sad than people who just gave in to the traditional wife stuff.
Yeah.
The trad wife, as people would say. You know what I mean? But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with that? Do you think does it matter being a working wife or not? Should it affect happiness?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we all have just like this nature inside of us. You know what I mean? It's like for now, maybe on a rare case, it's not like this. I'm not saying this is necessarily like 100% all the way through and through. But I would say majority wise, women are instilled with a nurturing and a caring spirit, whereas men are instilled with a providing and protective spirit.
Right.
And I think to go against that can cause some emotional distress.
Sure.
You know, and having all of these expectations and I don't know, just thinking you know what you want and setting yourself up in that way and then changing your mind later on can just really mess with you, you know. It's like if you I think you can kind of understand this like career wise. Like we were talking, if we could go back and tell 18-year-old selves what to do, like we would give ourselves totally different job opportunities. But now that we're kind of like settled in and doing what we're doing, it's like,
Got to make the best of what we got.
yeah, gotta make the best. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening with them, where they came forward and they were like, no, you know, I'm feminist and I want to be working and I want to be a working wife and a working mom. And now, you know, that they're missing time out on family, now that they're not being able to be home with their kids and doing what naturally occurs in women to do, they're finding it's not what they thought it was. And if they set themselves up in a way to where they don't have the option not to work, that can be a really miserable life. You know, now, if you have it set up to where your husband is making 2/3 of the income or to where yours is completely unnecessary, like that's what we're about to get ourselves set up in, is where my income is no longer necessary, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to work.
Yeah. Right.
Then, yeah, good for you. Work until you don't want to work.
Yeah.
If that means the next 30 years, if that means 5, if that means you're going to quit tomorrow, go for it.
Do you think there's any truth to or any merit to the statement of feminism has kind of pushed women to think they want something that they otherwise wouldn't have before, or have caused them to focus on stuff that doesn't matter?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you're fed how like miserable stuff is, you know, when everybody's like, oh, I remember stating that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and this guy looked at me in disgust and was like, why do you have no work ethic? Like, why would you just be satisfied being this little trophy wife mom? And I was like, why wouldn't I be satisfied with that? He's like, why would you want to sit there and be unequal? And I was like, the hell you mean unequal? Do you know how much you got to work with kids? I was like, that is a full-time job with 40 hours of overtime a week job.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, and you're working night shift too.
Yeah.
But no, I was going to say, why is a guy telling you how feminists should feel? You know, that's weird.
I think it was just because, like, we had gone out to, like, grab a drink together a couple times, and it was never necessarily with the intention of things being romantic, but I guess guy-girl relationships sometimes can just be kind of iffy on where things are at. So I guess whenever I said that, maybe it, like, sealed the deal for him on if us going out to get a drink together was as coworkers or as more. And so when he heard that, he was just like disgusted. He was like, when I think of a woman that I want somebody that's hardworking with goals, a real woman. And I'm just okay.
So, yeah, he came in with an agenda, an ulterior motive.
Right.
You didn't like shoot him down, but like you shot him down.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he was just disgusted that that's something I could want.
You weren't thinking about him.
Yeah.
Essentially. All right. Well, we're at an hour mark. I'm okay with cutting it here without finishing the chapter. We can finish the chapter next time because the chapter after is a lot shorter. It's a good story, but it's really short.
Okay. So that'll be a good flow then.
Yeah. So it'll work perfectly.
Cool.
Guys, thank you for joining us this time. I would say this week, but we do this bi-weekly. Sometimes we run out episodes and it takes a couple months. So love you guys.
Or sometimes they just don't get edited.
Yeah, sometimes the guy who says we'll edit it by this time doesn't even bother doing it. You brought it up. I wasn't gonna say anything. Just kidding, buddy. I love you. I know you're busy. I get it. I'm just joking. You got a lot on your plate.
Listen, you took it further than I did.
I do that, don't I?
Yeah.
You'll set up a joke, and I just like, you know what? You crack the door, boom, kick it open. Yeah. All right, that's fair. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
See you guys.
See you later.